All right, guys. I think we're live. I think it's a full go. Am I right? Let's see.
Let's take a look.
What's going on, guys? Elite, Antonio. Right, guys, I think we're live. I think it's a full go. Let's see. A little bit of lag. Ben, what's up, dude? Barrett saying Duval. Got some Jags fans in the house. What's going on? What's going on? Tell UCF I said what's up. What's up, C?
What's up, C?
What's going on? So I guess we'll wait a little bit to get some people in the in the stream here. I'll pull it up on my phone actually, and then we'll start breaking down some free agency predictions.
All right, so we are officially live on my phone, so I think that means it's real. I think that means it's real.
Perfect. So for everybody in the chat, I'm joined by my good buddy UCF Jaguar, biggest Jaguars YouTuber on the entire platform. We've known each other for a long time. How many years now? 3, 4?
Yeah, it's got to be at least 3 years now.
Yeah,
well, no, we watched the draft together 3 years ago, so more than 3 years ago. Maybe we're going on 4 years now.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. So go check out UCF Jaguar. His link to his channel is down below in the description box. Really, it's going to be crazy offseason because obviously you have the number 1 overall pick and whatnot. Where do you stand on that? Because I know it's not just Trevor Lawrence. You also have the other first round pick, just like the Jets, and the first pick in every other round after that. So if you just want to talk a little bit about that, the culture change, Urban Meyer coming in the building, how are you feeling?
Oh man, it's exciting. I mean, this time last year, the Jaguars decided to retain general manager Dave Caldwell and retain head coach Doug Marrone. And then literally this time last year, we were literally trading away every veteran player that had any trade value, whether it be Calais Campbell or AJ Boye. And then we didn't spend any money during free agency. It was just a rough time, man, because we looked at the roster and we're like, damn, we're clearly tanking. Like, this roster is not good. So it wasn't very exciting. But now, fast forward to now, man, we have the number 1 overall pick. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence. We have Urban Meyer in here. I mean, what a pipe dream. But then we have the most money to spend in the NFL, and they are going to freaking spend money. I mean, Urban Meyer didn't come here because he thought that the Jaguars could win in 2022. He thought that, look, this is a blank slate. With the right moves, I can win with this team in 2021. So that's what he hopes to do. So we have plenty of money to do it. And obviously a lot of draft capital, first pick in each round. You got 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, 2 fourth-round picks, and even more picks beyond that. So it's very, very exciting right now. And for the first time in a few years, the Jaguars should be super active on legal tampering day, which begins tomorrow.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I was going to ask next, which was, are the Jags actually going to be spending money? Because last year with the Jets, we had all this cap space, brand new GM coming in the building, and the expectation was, the Jets are going to be paying or surrounding Darnold with talent, but it didn't happen at all. We let Robbie Anderson go. He goes and dominates with Carolina. We bring in guys on cheap 1-year contracts like Rashad Perryman. Are the Jaguars ready to take that first step, or are they still kind of trying to find their identity, or do you think they're really going to try to cash in on a couple guys?
The Jaguars are going to be spending, man. And Urban Meyer, he's been extremely transparent, I think, in his press conferences. And he basically said, look, we're going to spend up to the cap. We have an owner who's willing to do so. So really, I mean, the cap right now is kind of low. So I would expect the Jaguars to spend up to that amount, because you can pretty much spend most of your cap. And then next year, the cap number is going to go up. So all of a sudden, it's boom, you're going to have a lot more room to work with in the very next year. So my hope with this team, man, I want to be able to have a great offense out here. I want to do everything we can to make sure Trevor Lawrence is set on the offensive side, so we don't have a Sam Darnold situation where we say, he didn't succeed because he didn't have the weapons. Then you have that whole debate up in the air, because that can get kind of messy. So I want the offense to be good. I want to fix the defensive line. And then I'm not even asking a lot out of the defense. I just want to allow 28 points or less. I want the offense to go out there and win games. And all I'm asking for the defense, 28 points or less. But yeah, I would definitely expect the Jaguars to be spending. And it's a fortunate situation that the Jaguars are in, because if you compare the Jaguars situation to the Jets situation, the Jets had the Bills in their division, and I would probably say the Bills are at least 2 wins better than the best team in the AFC South. So it gives you a better chance maybe of being able to go out there and potentially win a division next year. So, 10-6 might win the division for the Jaguars. 10-6 might not win it for the Jets, per se. So, we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you brought up the cap situation too, and like, of course, it's kind of a bummer for a lot of fans out there. A lot of teams, they're having to make all these cuts with big name players, but luckily for my team, the Jets, and your team, the Jags, like, because we have so much cap space, it's not going to like affect our teams as bad as it is with like teams like the Chiefs that just like up and release Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher just because they can't afford it. We're seeing all of these different cap maneuvers with the Chicago Bears. Like, they're having to adjust like all of these different contracts, where with our teams it's like, no, like, yeah, we still have so much cap space, we could just sign guys and just upgrade this team at so many different positions.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. I mean, it sucks if you're, because last year or whatever, I had to kind of sit at the side and watch all these teams grab these guys, but now like we're right back into it, man. We're gonna be spending some money, and I mean, hopefully the Jets do it, man. I mean, I think Joe Douglas, he's a little bit conservative when it comes to really breaking the bank a little bit. Maybe due to what Mike McCagnon did, maybe he's a little more wary after signing guys like who's the middle linebacker you guys signed from the Ravens? The
CJ Mosley.
CJ Mosley, like Le'Veon Bell. Maybe he's a little bit more hesitant based on the past, but I mean, he's got to believe in his own convictions, and he's got to go out there and do his thing. And does have a lot of money, and obviously they definitely have a lot of needs. So hopefully both of our teams spend some big money for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, let me get to this question real quick, Ben. A really good question. Can you project a contract for Juju? Seems like there's a lot of buzz around him. I'm going to say a 4-year, $64 million contract, around $15 to $16 million a year, annually. I think that's fair because there is some off the field stuff, but I actually posted a video on it today. I know you mentioned that you couldn't watch it, but that was kind of the contract projection, $16 million a season. Actually, check this out. V-Man, $5 donation. Hey, Jet Central. If I were to start a petition to go to the Jets to play a scrimmage game at their original practice field in Peekskill, would you sign it? Sure, man. Yeah, sure thing. Send it my way. No doubt. But you trying to predict some free agents? Dalton? Can you hear me? So I don't know if Dalton can hear me. But anyway, we'll start with Yannick Ngakoue first. So Yannick Ngakoue, let's see. How much we play? So I think UCF Jaguar is completely frozen. Yeah, we'll just go on without him. All right, let me just answer. Okay, yeah, he's texting me. All right. Let's answer some questions. How much we plan paying Joe Thuney, JC? I'm going to say a ton. 4 years, $60 million, I think sounds fair. Because he is the top guard hitting the open market, he's going to command top dollar, especially with guys like Brandon Scherf being tagged by Washington, arguably, a top, Thuney's rival, essentially. I think that was definitely a blow because if Scherf were to hit the open market, I think it would have been, I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough because Scherf got a 1 year, $18 million franchise tag. Let's see. So I think this whole thing's actually freezing right now. Yeah. Let's see. Any chance at Golladay? Let's see, over Juju. All right, Dalton's back.
Hey,
there we go. What happened?
I don't know. My internet didn't go out. I figured my internet was going to time out, so I don't know, man. But we're here. It's back. Maybe I'm a little bit nervous. Maybe I had to take a quick breather because it's intimidating being on your channel, man. I've got the top Jets YouTuber right here. Like I don't know how to respond right now.
It was crazy, dude, because as soon as you froze, my computer was acting weird and like my mouse wasn't working or anything like that. So I don't know if I was frozen either. But yeah, just answering some questions. You ready to predict some free agents? We got 257 people in here.
Let's do it.
All right. So first guy up is a guy him really, really well, right? You've seen years of his play. It's Yannick Ngakoue, edge rusher, former Jag, former Viking, and Raven. Where do you think Yannick's going to land?
It's really hard projecting I think defensive end edge rushers, because really like no team can you really say, okay, they're good at edge rushers. They don't need an edge rusher. Like every team needs edge rushers. So this one's a little bit hard. Yannick Ngakoue is kind of a one-trick pony. He has an interesting career because really like in 2019 he was working on trying to get a long-term deal with the Jaguars. The Jaguars gave him a pretty big contract. He turned it down. He was going to gamble on himself. Then the following year, he was being weird on social media. He wasn't going to take a franchise tag for the Jaguars, and then wound up wanting to leave the Jaguars completely. And then he even let the Jaguars, he was willing to take an $8 million pay cut to leave the Jaguars. You know what I mean? And then he actually wound up firing his agent. So he's had a pretty telling career. And I don't know with his play last year. Obviously, the Vikings didn't really want him. It doesn't look like the Ravens are going to re-sign him. I wonder, what kind of contract he's going to get, and if he really made a horrible financial decision earlier and not taking that multi-year deal from the Jaguars. So I have Yannick Ngakoue. I actually have him going to the Raiders, kind of teaming up with his former coach, Gus Bradley, over there. That's a team that kind of needs edge rushing help. I can kind of see the fit over there, kind of play him opposite side of Cleveland Farrell. And then kind of a random team, but I'm going to the Raiders.
Dude, that's a really, really good one. I didn't even think about Vegas when I was kind of, trying to project some of these guys. I have Yannick going to the New York Giants. I've heard some small rumors that the Buffalo Bills could be involved if they cut Jerry Hughes, but I feel like that window is past. I'm going to say the Giants. I feel like they really need pass rushing help. I feel like Dave Gettleman might be on his last leg as general manager, so it's time for him to really start bringing in a lot of guys. But it's going to be interesting because, man, Yannick is such an interesting prospect because I feel like he's so young. He still has such a high upside, but he just hasn't really lived up to that one dominant season with Jacksonville where I think it was 2018. It was either 2017 or 2018. You would know better than me.
2017. And he had a bunch of strip sacks, but his thing is like, he's never going to be, he can't be the guy. You know what I mean? He can't be the Khalil Mack. You know what I mean? He can't be, that big impact guy. He needs to have other players with him. Like he needs to be, and it's nothing wrong with that. If he's a third down guy or a situational pass rusher, he's not very good against the run. Every team has its place for that. But the thing is, you don't really want to pony up a lot of money for that position. It's probably more for a team that they want to really make a, hit in the playoffs next year. They think their defense is looking pretty good and they need another pass rusher to kind of put them to the next level, a guy that gets the other team off on third down. So that's kind of his role. So, we'll kind of see where he ends up. I could even maybe see him going to the Jets.
Yeah, that would be crazy. There's been some small rumblings that Robert Saleh would really like Yannick, but Damien, $5 donation. He says, love the content. Have either of you guys considered starting a podcast? Personally, I have. That's something that it's kind of in the pipeline for the future. It's not going to be like a Jet focused podcast, but I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing, but it's definitely in the works. What about you?
I've thought about it, but I'm not going to do it. I don't know. I'm not much of a podcast guy. My idea of podcasts are doing stuff like this and going live because I really like the live interaction. You know what I mean? I like being here with 303 people because it feels like I'm doing it with people. You know what I mean? If I do a podcast, it feels too much like I'm just having a one-on-one conversation with somebody, and I really like the live interaction. So I mean, I do a lot of, live streams and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun, but that's my idea of a podcast for myself.
Yeah, that's sick, man. And then Nandon, he says, hey, Jet Central, Zach Wilson or Justin Fields. I'm going to say right now, I'm going to say Zach Wilson. I don't think you could go wrong with either, but for the Jets at spot number 2, I'm going to go Wilson. And then Michael.
It seems like Wilson's going to be the guy though, man.
That's where all the buzz right now. It's kind of pointing in that direction. Like he's going to be the guy at number 2, whether it's, the Jets there, maybe, if they get Deshaun Watson and Houston moves up, it's still going to be Wilson with Houston. So I don't know, but Michael says,
no, go ahead, just real quick. Well, I was going to say, it seems like, to begin the draft process, it seemed like there was like a huge, it seemed like all the analysts and stuff were saying there's a huge gap between the quarterback 1 and quarterback 2 of the draft. But now it seems like there's a bigger gap between the quarterback 2 and quarterback 3, because literally all I'm seeing in every Jets mock draft is, is Zach Wilson. And most of the time, man, when there's smoke, there's fire. It seems like Joe Douglas is kind of ready to move off of Darnold for sure.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. there's been so many rumors with Darnold, like Adam Schefter saying he could get a first round pick in return. Multiple teams have contacted the Jets for Darnold. It's going to be an interesting storyline to see what happens. But Michael, $2, he says, not number 9 forever. The GOAT. Love both of your channels. I'm assuming by the profile pic and the news today, he's talking about Drew Brees. Drew Brees just retired. It's gonna be crazy. How you feeling about Jameis? It's looking like Winston's gonna be the guy. But yeah, Kenny Golladay up next. Where do you think the big time wide receiver from Detroit's landing?
Kenny Golladay, I actually have him going to the Ravens. I think they need somebody, man. I think they need to get Lamar Jackson some help. It doesn't seem like Hollywood Brown's kind of fitting into that role. And I mean, they need to do something for him, man, because they haven't had him an elite wide receiver in the 3 years that he's been with the Ravens. They've been kind of more like, run central, but I think they finally need to get their guy. Like, I think, Joe Flacco, it seemed like always had, that kind of wide receiver over there with him. I think Kenny Golladay, I think a pairing with the Ravens would be good for him.
Dalton, you free? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what happened. Anyway, you got where Golladay going to Baltimore?
Yeah, I got Golladay going to Baltimore. I just think that, they didn't provide Lamar Jackson's really never had like an elite weapon over there. Yeah. And I think even Joe Flacco back when he was there, it seemed like he had some, they provided him good weapons. I think they need to do the same with Lamar Jackson in his 4th year, get him a true number 1 wide receiver that can help out in the pass game and kind of try to help Lamar Jackson shed the whole narrative that he's like just a running guy. You know what I mean? Because I can tell that probably gets pretty tiring as a fan. For sure. Yeah, no. And Baltimore, like they have like some good pass catchers, but they don't have that like elite number 1 threat on the outside. And funny enough, I actually have Golladay going to Baltimore too. There's the teams that I've kind of heard linked to Golladay are the Colts, the Patriots, and the I think it was the New York Giants as well. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think Baltimore for all the same reasons, just that number 1 X wide receiver that you can just throw him on the outside. He wins on one-on-one matchups, and Lamar can really just, toss it up to him. He could kind of just be that security blanket. Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, so next up, guard Joe Thuney. I would say right now he's the best guard that's going to be hitting the market with Brandon Scherff being tagged from Washington. Where do you think Thuney's going to land?
I actually had Thuney going to the Jets. I mean, I think that, when you look back at just everything that happened with like Sam Darnold, like, there's the argument that the Jets kind of ruined him, which, obviously it's a debate about what happened there. But at the end of the day, you don't want the same thing to happen to your next quarterback. I mean, you want Zach Wilson to be protected so he's not, out there just thrown into the wolves, kind of like really Sam Darnold was. And, I think that could be like, I could think, if the Jets get Joe Thuney in here, that could be a really underrated offensive line, really. So I think they pony up the money. And I think that they do wind up going out and getting Thuney. Yeah,
no, same here, man. There's just so much emphasis on getting better at the offensive line. But as far as the Jets are concerned, you have Mekhi Becton at left tackle, George Fant playing some solid ball at right tackle. The problems lie on the interior. I feel like not only would the Jets just be getting a better player at that position, but we're taking a really, really good player away from a division rival in the Patriots. I think there's definitely something that needs to be taught, or that's something that should be said, right? So Thuney to the Jets, I feel like that's it's just a seamless fit. And I know I am a Jet fan here, and that might sound like a little like homery, but I feel like at the end of the day, there's not really that other team that's ready and willing to give out like a massive mega deal. Like I'm thinking like a 4-year, $60 million contract for Thuney, like big time money, like highest paid guard in the league type of money. Really the only other team that I can see doing something like that is Cincinnati, because they have such a huge need as well, but they don't really spend that much money, if you know what I mean. In recent memory, like Trey Waynes and who else? Mackenzie Alexander, like they've definitely signed some decent sized contracts, but nothing like crazy. Like they're never pulling off these like massive trades or anything like that.
Well, yeah, they're always in the running, but it seems like they kind of back out last minute almost.
Yeah, for sure. So Tekken says Jet Central and UCF. If Allen Robinson were to get traded, what team is more likely to get him in your opinion, Jets or Jags? That's a really good question, because we heard the report today that Robinson will not be signing the franchise tag, or at least he doesn't want to. So there is a possibility that he can still be dealt.
Yeah, I think Al Robinson will wind up being dealt because right now the Bears are apparently really trying to make moves to get Russell Wilson. I don't know how likely that is. I think that's such an impossible task to do. But there's many teams that would trade for Al Robinson right now. And hell, if you can franchise tag somebody and all of a sudden a team will give you a draft pick for him, I don't know why every team doesn't do it. You know what I mean? So when I look at this, I feel like he would be better for the Jets just because I think the Jags have a similar wide receiver in Al Robinson with DJ Chark. I feel like DJ Chark's kind of underrated. And the Jets don't really have that kind of guy. But at the same time, I feel like the Jaguars might be a little more willing to give up draft picks, because one thing I've seen about Joe Douglas is I think he does really like his draft picks, and I don't know if he's at the point where he really wants to be giving away draft capital, for a guy like this. So, and then Urban Meyer right now is running the show in Jacksonville. So I think that Urban Meyer would be a little more willing to go balls for the walls to get a guy like this. But, I think that the Jets would probably need his services a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And it's weird too that because we heard that thing that Allen Robinson was talking about where he would like to go back and link up with Trevor Lawrence, and that would just be crazy if Allen Robinson just winds back up in Jacksonville. But if I remember correctly, I don't think it was some sort of bad blood thing, because I remember a couple players just hated Jacksonville and they were just slamming the franchise when they left, like Yannick and Jalen Ramsey and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think. Was Allen Robinson doing stuff like that, or did he just kind of leave quietly and just sign his deal in Chicago?
I mean, he just left quietly. I mean, the Jaguars, we were really wanting him to come back, and all of a sudden he just kind of signs with the Bears. But the big difference was that happened after the 2017 season. So I don't think a lot of Jaguars players were really being like, I want out of here after going to the AFC Championship. It really happened after that. And then once really Tom Coughlin was really just all over the locker room, and once it really fell apart in 2018 when they went I think it was 5-11, then it started coming out about just how toxic really the Jaguars locker room was behind Tom Coughlin.
Yeah, for sure. I feel that. I mean, I don't know. I still really like Allen Robinson. I mean, I like all those those ex-Jags, like Jalen Ramsey. I still like them, but definitely their exit was definitely weird. But shake and bake, Jet Central, who's your consensus quarterback number 2? For me, it's Zach Wilson. Probably for a lot of people, it's going to be Zach Wilson right now, but there's still a lot of time left. We're seeing a ton of hype between, from Trey Lance and Mac Jones just soaring up draft boards. We all heard that rumor with Mac Jones that his floor is the 8th overall pick, which means he's not going to be getting past the 8th overall pick. That's crazy to me. And I honestly don't see that at all. Who's your quarterback number 2?
It is funny when you talk about Mac Jones. Man, it felt like Mac Jones and Kyle Trask were both right there with being top end number 20 picks, low end second round. And then dude, it seems like Mac Jones is soared up, and I haven't even heard anything about Kyle Trask. So that's a little bit crazy. I don't know. I'd probably say Zach Wilson, but this is a really interesting draft class. And one thing that's really hard about the quarterback position is that you have to kind of project, you have to be able to project. Yeah, you can't look at college film and say, okay, this guy's the best. You have to say, okay, who can be the best? So it's we see Justin Fields has a lot of good stuff about his game, but he has a lot to clean up. You see the same thing. I mean, Trey Lance is super exciting. So all these guys, it's just so hard. And, you got to understand the mentals. Me and you, we don't know anything about these guys. So we can't get into their heads and know really what kind of guy they are in the film room and stuff like that. But, Zach Wilson, I mean, he's been soaring up, and I think a lot of people really like him. He's probably going to go number 2.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what Brian is saying now. The gap between Fields and Wilson is starting to increase. I don't know. It's going to be a wild next couple weeks for sure, but let's move on. Trent Williams, definitely I would say an interesting free agent because he's really, really good. The 49ers want him back, but at the same time, he's old. He's really old. And I know you've kind of talked a little bit about him joining the Jacksonville Jags. You kind of want him. Where do you think Trent Williams will land?
Well, I was wanting the Jaguars to go all out on Trent Williams, and I wouldn't say he's too old. I mean, I think he's going to be 33 or 34 when the season starts, and a lot of offensive linemen, they play in their later years. Like, I think Andrew Whitworth was like 39 his final season. It's not a position like wide receiver where you have to be like super quick twitch and like you kind of lose a lot of that. But after the Jaguars tag Cam Robinson, they have a lot of money tied up there. I was thinking maybe tag and trade, but with some guys getting released, like like Eric Fisher, I just don't know any team that would want to trade for Cam Robinson with that high cap figure and a low cap season. So I think that Trent Williams, I think that he lands with the Colts because Anthony Costanzo just retired, and then they've always kind of, their bread and butter has been the offensive line. So if the 49ers don't find a way to re-sign him, which I don't really think they will be able to, I think that he probably lands with the Colts and kind of, gives Carson Wentz his much needed protection at his blind side. That's one thing you have to give to Carson Wentz if you want him to succeed as a great offensive line like he had back in 2017. And then obviously they're going to be led by Jonathan Taylor too. So, make sure that their identity stays with them. And I would probably say the Colts.
For sure. Yeah, like that. Man, Indianapolis, that's another team that I didn't really envision in the Trent Williams market either, because the one thing I keep forgetting about Indy, maybe it's because they're so good, but they have so much cap space. Like typically you see like the bad teams, the teams that get 3-4 wins, those are the teams that have $40-60 million to spend. But Indy, I mean, they won 11 games last year and they're like right up in the top 5, top 6 in available cap space. So it's crazy. I feel like Indy never really spends that money. But it sounds like a perfect fit. It really does. I think Trent Williams is probably going to re-sign, though, with San Francisco, just because I feel like San Francisco is like, they're going to lose so many players. Like, you look at the cornerbacks, you look at the wide receiver, like there's so many players that are like set to hit the open market for San Fran. And then, you look at the coaching staff as well, and all of these guys are leaving to the Jet staff. I feel like San Fran, they're going to try to figure out a way to re-sign Trent Williams. I know he hated playing for Washington, and I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't really know what the contract projection for Williams would be, but I would assume it would be a shorter deal, maybe like a 1 or 2 year contract, as opposed to a 4 or a 5 year deal.
I think he'll get a 3-year deal. I think that's kind of around the area that he'll get because, like I said, the offensive linemen do play into their later years. It's one of those positions where you can kind of play like, as your age gets up there. But the only thing that you have to kind of think about with the Colts is that they will have Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith coming upon contract years. So you're going to have to allocate some of that money toward them a little bit later on. But really with Trent Williams' history, and he's made 8 out of the last 9 Pro Bowls, I think he deserves a long-term deal. And I think there's a team out there because a lot of sites have him as the number 1 free agent. So, and he's, great in the locker room. He's a really smart guy, really hard worker. So
Trent Williams as the number 1 overall or the number 1 tackle?
Like the number 1 overall, like a lot of sites have him there. So,
damn, that's crazy. I mean, I like Trent Williams. I think he's great, but I don't know. Like, is he a top 5 left tackle in your opinion? Like,
yeah, I mean, he's made 8 out of the last 9 Pro Bowls, man. Like the production is there. I mean, I've watched some of his stuff from last year, man. He gets after people. He's a really good tackle. So, and also it's hard to find good left tackles, man. I mean, obviously you guys were able to get one, but it just feels like there's a lot more great pass rushers than there are great tackles. So, I mean, that's just, I don't know, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. So Williams is probably around 2 years, 40 million. That's fair. I would assume that's fair for a top 5 left tackle, especially for a win now team like Indy. Let's see. Jaw says, why did the Packers wait till now to sign Jones? Yeah, as we all know, Aaron Jones just recently signed 4-year contract. Pretty big deal, honestly, for a running back. I think it was 4 years, 48. I think Green Bay thought, well, I know Green Bay didn't want to franchise tag him because they thought that they could sign him for a long-term deal for a cheaper annual rate. So I think that's my best guess. I'm not 100%, I don't know that to be a fact, but that would just kind of be my assumption.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Sorry, I'm trying to look up what Trent Williams' projected numbers will be.
For a
Kinda,
contract.
yeah, I'm trying to see like what they're kind of saying, but I can't really. It's hard for me to find a good site.
Yeah, no, it's all kind of like up in the air. Like different sites value different players. Like a player will be number 3 on one list and then like 35 on another list. Juju Smith-Schuster is actually one of those players that he's all over the board. Like he's highly ranked on some, and then he's just like around like the 40-50 mark. It's insane. But next free agent, this one's pretty big. I feel like it's kind of going under the radar though. He is like a a household name, I would say. It's Hunter Henry, tight end from the Chargers. Where do you think he's going to land?
I have Hunter Henry going to the Colts as well. Like I said with Carson Wentz, Carson Wentz has always had tight ends, and Indianapolis, they have, like I said, they have a lot of money to spend. So I think that Hunter Henry, I project him to go to the Colts, but I could also see him going to the Patriots. So those are a couple places that I see, because the Patriots are supposed to be planning to spend a lot of money in free agency. So but we'll see. It seems like the Colts, they always, like, unlike the Jaguars, man, Colts always seem to find tight ends. So I think that's where Hunter Henry might end up.
Indy, yeah. I'm going to go with the Patriots. It was between New England or Arizona, because I feel like Arizona, they're making a push to be like a win now, like we better make the playoffs type of season. With bringing in J.J. Watt, you traded for DeAndre Hopkins. Like, I know some Cardinals fans are kind of getting fed up with Kingsbury. So I don't know. I feel like Arizona, they lack that tight end threat, but New England just has so much cap space. They have no solid, reliable tight ends on the roster. I feel like that just makes so much sense. But Hunter Henry's I feel like the injury bug hits this guy every single season. So does Bill Belichick want to pay or shell out a big time contract for a guy like Hunter Henry? I don't know. Maybe he can opt for a Jonnu Smith at a lesser price, but I don't know. I guess it all depends on how you value guys. But Shaq, sorry, go ahead.
It's hard to project what the Patriots are going to do, because they've never really been in this kind of position. Usually they don't shell out a lot of money to free agents, but it looks like they're going to try to be big time players this year. So we'll see what they try to do.
Yeah, there's been some rumors about possibly trading Stephon Gilmore to even get more money. So I don't know. New England, it's such a tough team to read, like especially now with Tom Brady playing elsewhere and re-signing Cam Newton. Like I really don't know what direction New England is going to go in, because I feel like one part of me is like they should rebuild. They don't have any offensive talent. But then on the flip side, they're like, well, yeah, they won whatever it was, 7-8 games last year, 7-8 games last season with no talent at all. So this team literally, like, if the ball bounces in a different direction a couple weeks, they could have easily made the playoffs last year. But Shaq Barrett, edge rusher from Tampa, I don't know what's happening here, because the Bucs franchise tagged Godwin. Is Barrett going to hit the open market, or is he, is he going to re-sign in Tampa, or do you think he's going to cash in elsewhere? I don't know.
The closer it gets to tomorrow, the less likely he's going to sign with the Bucs. Obviously we saw Aaron Jones make the signing today, but very rarely does an elite player like that hit the open market and sign with the same team. You know what I mean? They franchise tag Godwin. They gave some money to Levante David. So it looks like Shaq Barrett might be the odd man out. So I could see the Jaguars getting in this mix, but I think the Jaguars probably go after like a Matt Judon. So I think Shaq Barrett ends up with the Bengals.
Bengals. Okay. So I was going to say the Jags, actually. I just feel like Jacksonville, I don't know, if you're bringing back Cam Robinson and you're out on the tackle market, and you're solid at wide receiver and you kind of know what you're going to be doing at quarterback, I'm thinking the two big areas for Jacksonville are maybe defensive back, either safeties and corners, and edge rush help. And I feel like Barrett just checks that box, and you can just give Barrett whatever he wants. I definitely feel like Jacksonville is going to be one of those teams where they can, they'll say, hey, we'll match any contract that you get and then add some to come to Jacksonville. I don't know. I feel like Barrett he might still re-sign with Tampa, though. I don't know. I just feel like it's so up in the air. I feel like it's such a weird situation. I don't know if it's because the assumption was that Barrett was definitely going to be back with Tampa next season, but I don't know. like you said, like as the hours go by, it's looking more and more likely like he's just going to be testing the waters elsewhere. So I don't
Like
know. It's weird.
I'll say this. I think either like the Jaguars will either sign Shaq Barrett or Matt Judon. One of those guys is definitely going to end up in Jacksonville. I just say Matt Judon just because it seems like it makes a little bit more sense, just because like the defense coordinator right now is Joe Cullen, who used to be the defensive line coach for the Ravens. And I don't know, maybe just the familiarity factor with that, he winds up there, but we'll see.
Yeah, that'll be weird. Here's a good question for you, William. Are the Jags a 3-4 or a 4-3 defense?
They're going to be 3-4. They're going to 3-4.
Okay, so yeah, perfect. Shaq Barrett's a perfect fit then.
Yeah.
So let's see. Nandon. JC, collab with New Stripe City for Jets versus Bengals. I always like the Bengals. Do you know New Stripe City?
Yeah, I actually ran into him at Publix a couple weeks ago. He's
is he based out of Florida? I might bump into him too.
Yeah, he lives in the same city as me. So it's North Orlando, kind of near Lake Mary. He's a Bengals guy. I collabed with him last year for the Jaguars Bengals. Super cool dude. So yeah, you should definitely collab with him.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I'll hit him up. All right, so next up, big wide receiver. We talked a little bit about him before, Juju Smith-Schuster. Where do you think he's going to land?
Me with Juju, honestly, I think that he ends up re-signing with the Steelers. I don't know. I feel like he stays with the Steelers. I just don't know if I don't know. I don't see him going anywhere else. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be really getting a lot of money just because of really all the maturity issues. Now he kind of fell off last year. I could be off on that. Maybe he goes to like a team like the Patriots. The Patriots might be a good fit for him, but I have him with the Steelers.
So would you, if you're Pittsburgh, who do you value more, Bud Dupree or Juju?
I mean, I value Bud Dupree more, but I don't know. I just feel like this is a team that always has offensive weapons. So I think that they find a way to bring him back. But at the same time, the Steelers are known to kind of get these receivers. They play great, guys like Mike Wallace. And they play great on their rookie contracts and they go kind of elsewhere later on. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to actually say the Jets on this one. Again, not trying to sound like a homer here, but I just feel like there's been so much. I mean, like you said before, Dalton, like when there's smoke, there's fire. There's been so much speculation with Juju coming to the Jets, him playing in a bigger market. He's such a great fit for the offense. And I mean, the Jets offense is completely laughable. So he'd fit in. He would instantly, like the day he signs, be the best player on the offense, right? Just easily. Obviously the best skill position too, like the number one option. He can hurt you on the outside and on the inside. Great hands, great size. I think Juju's going to be coming to the Jets. I feel like that's another situation where, much like Jacksonville with, Shaq Barrett, the Jets will just throw whatever they can at Juju and just match any offer out there and just say, it doesn't matter any, whatever contract offers that you're getting currently, it doesn't matter. We'll give you more. I don't know. I could be wrong because there is Kenny Golladay. There is Curtis Samuel. I just feel like those two guys are going to have a lot of suitors. A lot of teams begging or, calling them. With Juju, I feel like it might not be that long of a list, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I agree with you.
Yeah. So Will Fuller, wide receiver from the Texans.
Will Fuller, I have him going to the Patriots. The Patriots are going to be pushing to get some guys. And I think, Will Fuller with the Patriots, I mean, that's a very unique fit. They can almost use him similar to the way they kind of did Edelman. Hopefully he kind of stays healthy because that's the big thing on him. But Will Fuller, I mean, he's exciting when he's on the field. He's very, very good when he's on the field. I imagine him being a very good Patriot.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like you would know Will Fuller better than I do. I just haven't really, in my mind, Will Fuller is a deep route specialist. He does a really good job of tracking the football, but he's always hurt. I know he got suspended last season. I just feel like there's always something. It's never just smooth sailing with Will Fuller. Like there's always some sort of drawback. And I feel like for me personally, as far as like him coming to the Jets, like that's the drawback is like, do you want to pay this guy on a multi-year contract, giving him a lot more money than he's currently being paid if he can't stay on the field, if he's only good for 7, 8, 9 games a season? Like I don't feel comfortable naming Will Fuller like the number one guy. Now, if you bring in Fuller with somebody else, then that's, a different story. But if he's your only guy that you're bringing in, I would definitely have concern with it. But
see, my thing is, I don't think Will Fuller gets a multi-year deal. I think he gets a 1-year deal with the weird season that this is, because I think it'd also be better served for himself. Like, if he goes out there and puts on a good 16 games where he stays healthy, then, and he has a productive year, then like, boom, like he could be setting himself up for a huge contract in the next year. So I think, he just signs a 1-year deal somewhere.
Yeah, Robbie says JD will not spend big money on a receiver. I don't know. Well, I mean, if that's the case, then we got to target wide receivers through the draft. And I mean, luckily for the Jets, multiple first-round picks, super high second-round pick, multiple third-round picks. We'll see what happens. So Dylan Alex, Spurs fan here, $5 donation, collab with Let's Talk Jets Radio. JC, thoughts on signing Thuney and Lindsley, moving McGovern to guard with Becton and Fant. Top 10 offensive line. That's a pretty big prediction for a top 10 O-line. But I mean, like, if you're like just looking at the actual positions, you have Mekhi Becton. That's a, great A+. And then you would have, I'm assuming you would put Thuney at left guard and then Lindsley at center. 2 amazing pieces. Right guard, Connor McGovern. I don't know how he will be at guard. That's just he's played some guard before with Denver. I just don't know if he's the guy. I don't know if the Jets can rely on him. And then, of course, at right tackle, you have, George Fant. So he's solid. The assumption would be that he's going to continue to get better, or at least mirror what he did last season. So honestly, like, I think you're right. I think you're spot on. A top 10 offensive line with those players, like, that's a lot of talent. If you're looking at an offensive line and you have one issue, like one problem, and it's not that one player is not even a guaranteed problem. Like, he still could get better. Like, you're in a great situation.
Yeah, and it's so hard with offensive linemen, because it's really hard to have a great offensive lineman. You got to think there's 5 starters on an offensive line, and there's 32 teams. That's 180 total starting offensive linemen in the NFL. And, if one guy is a, spinning top, then it's like, it makes the offensive line look bad. So it's very hard to get an elite offensive line in there for sure.
Yeah. So next up, we have Jonnu Smith, tight end. I know he could be high on the Jaguars list. What do you think about Jonnu Smith? Where do you think he'll land?
I think he lands with the Jaguars. I think that the Jaguars need a tight end. I actually prefer Jonnu Smith over Hunter Henry, because I think he's a lot more versatile. He stays a lot more healthy. You also bring him over from the Titans, which I always like, kind of stealing talent from a team like that. He can do a lot of different stuff, man. I think he's very underrated. He even does some stuff out of the backfield. And, I think a big emphasis on the Jaguars is just making sure that this offense is off and running. So we can't look at Trevor Lawrence and say, look, he had a decent year, but, the tight end play was not good, or the offensive line was not good, and they were getting him sacked all the time. I think that Urban Meyer's going to do everything they can to put a great offense going forward. And, I think that Jonnu Smith getting a tight end in here, he noted that the tight end room is not good right now. He basically said everything but the Jaguars offensive line or the defense or the tight end room sucks. So I think Jonnu Smith's going to be a target for the Jaguars, and I think he comes over to the team.
Yeah, I feel like Jonnu Smith to Jacksonville, man, like that's one of those kind of like how Juju is with the Jets. Like, everybody's just kind of expecting that to happen. And like you said, man, like, you have a brand new quarterback coming in the building, new culture, new face of the franchise, new coach, Urban Meyer. I really do feel like Jonnu Smith to the Jags is like a done deal. But if it's not Jacksonville, for me, it is Jacksonville. But if it wasn't Jacksonville, again, I could see New England or Arizona playing, bringing Smith in, but especially New England, man, for the same reasons that we talked about with Hunter Henry. Just like, they have nothing. They have no players on offense, and they have a couple virus like opt-out guys coming back, which will definitely help them. But I feel like they need weapons, and Cam Newton really likes to target tight ends. So for them to not really have that reliable guy, think back to the tight end position with New England in the last 10 years. It's been complete domination, and last season it just wasn't there at all. Maybe they bring in Hunter Henry or Jonnu Smith to kind of flip that narrative. But Curtis Samuel now from the Carolina Panthers. This is a big one. He's really popular from what I've kind of seen and heard Curtis Samuel's gonna have a lot of teams calling, right? A lot of teams out there, including the Patriots, the Jets. There's a lot of teams out there. Where do you think Curtis will sign?
Well, I know I'm into a homer here, but I actually predict the Jaguars for this one because one thing, Curtis Samuel does have a connection with Urban Meyer. He played with him at Ohio State, and Urban Meyer has made it be known that the Jaguars need to get faster. They need speed. The Jaguars don't have a lot of speed, and that's what Curtis Samuel has. And, I had to do a lot of research on Curtis Samuel lately because, he really hasn't been, his numbers aren't super dominating. I don't think he's ever had a season of, over 850 yards receiving. But, man, last year, there were times where he was getting wide open and the throws were just horrible. And really, he can be very explosive in the right system. So, I'm a little bit scared about Curtis Samuel just because this is a situation where you're not paying him based on how good he's been. You're going to pay him based on how good you think he will be. And obviously, if the production hasn't been there, it's a little bit riskier. But it scares me a little bit. But I think Urban Meyer does want to link up with him, and I think Jaguars wind up going after Curtis Samuel.
Where did Curtis Samuel play in college? Ohio State, right?
Yeah, Ohio State.
With Meyer?
Yeah, with Meyer.
Yeah, that could be a nice little match made in heaven. I didn't know that up until now, actually.
Yeah. Well, that's why he got me here. I know about Urban Meyer. I know about who's played with him. I'm trying to draw Malik Hooker, another free agent, played with Urban Meyer. That could be another potential fit. We'll see.
I think I should just make every video on this channel from here on out just about Urban Meyer.
Dude, that would be. I would tune in to that. I'll just say that.
So Curtis Samuel, you talked about a versatile guy, not really the big time premier, Julio, Devontae Adams, Michael Thomas type of guy, but super, super versatile, can really just dominate in, with screens, with slants, with crossing patterns, with just short passing, end arounds, reverses, all those trick plays. Curtis Samuel's a perfect fit for. I'm going to say Washington, just because Washington's another one of those sleeper teams that have so much cap space. It's unbelievable, especially after the release of Alex Smith. By the way, another Urban Meyer guy. Washington can bring in a lot of guys, and they made the playoffs last year, albeit 7-9. But they pushed Tampa to the brink last year in the playoffs with that wild card round. It was close, right? With their fourth string quarterback and Heineke. I don't know. I really feel like Washington is going to make some moves this offseason. Really try to. The defense it's great. It's intact. It's young. It's up and coming. But the offense definitely lags behind. I think Curtis Samuel could be a huge acquisition for Washington.
Yeah. And I do want to give a quick shout out to Nandon. He threw a donation earlier, but you weren't able to read it. He asked me basically, do I trust Urban Meyer? And he put out another comment asking if I trust him and his ability to develop Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I absolutely trust him. When I heard the rumors that he was interested, I was all in. I remember, I think we did a stream together, and then you asked me oh, what's my number 2 option? I'm like, dude, I don't have a number 2 option. It's Urban Meyer or bust for me. I mean, he's a guy that he's never failed, in a college. He's never failed on any team that he's been a part of. And man, he just knows football, man. He knows X's and O's, and he's not, he's not such a big ego that he doesn't listen to other people. He's constantly learning the game. I think it's a great fit. And obviously he comes in here. He wouldn't be coming to Jacksonville if it wasn't for Trevor Lawrence and the opportunity that the Jaguars have to really turn this thing around with cap space and draft capital. So, I trust them. And honestly, as a 1-15 team, there's really nowhere to go from here.
Yeah, I feel that. So, DJ, with the limited scouting combine, do you trust the ranks? Incredible question. That's a really, really good question. I feel like not many people are asking. That's tough, man. It's tough because, personally, I don't like to put a lot of stock into the combine. I prefer to watch these players in college and kind of see how they do, kind of how they progress throughout their careers, their collegiate careers. But the combine is a useful tool that you can use to measure a bunch of different things. I think the ranks will be messed up a little bit. I don't really think that it's going to, make or break guys. I don't think Zach Wilson is going to come to the league and just be absolutely horrible. Same with Trevor Lawrence or anything like that, because there was no combine. But I definitely feel like there might be more busts in the first round and more sleepers in like rounds 2, 3, 4. Like, oh, how do we not realize either, or how do we not find this guy? That player could have been, excellent at the combine, and vice versa. They could have had a horrible combine, because it's not just the physical tests and whatnot. It's also the interview process, because it is a multi-day thing. So I don't know. For me, I think it will impact it to a certain degree. What do you think?
I think the biggest thing about not having the NFL draft, I think the most important part of the NFL combine, I should say, is just the whole medical thing. Like, you can put your own doctors and have your doctors touch these guys, feel them, like, see what's happening with their knee. Like, you can get your guys on, the guys that you trust, to kind of give you more of a better medical report than just hearing it from, oh, this doctor, over here said he's good to go. You know what I mean? A lot of teams feel more comfortable with the whole medical portion of it. But yeah, I mean, it's every year, there's a lot of overreactions about the combine. Oh, this guy did this. And it's like, oh, well, it's not important. It's not, like that's what we're always being preached on. But I think at the end of the day, man, it just makes teams more reliant on watching the film. And I think that's what it's all about, man. Just watch the tape, watch what they've done, project what they can do. And I think that's really, I mean, the biggest thing about this whole thing, probably what 98% of it is the what they've done in the games in college football.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And DJ, I appreciate that little donation too. It means the world. Mitt Flair, $2. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. He says, if we sign Juju, do you think it's a sign that we'll keep Sam? Well, possibly. I mean, Juju obviously played with Sam Darnold in college. They had that chemistry. They did they did some excellent things together during their time at USC, but I just feel like we can't look at the college tape and say, you know what, because they played together, that means that they're both going to get exponentially better. I think if the Jets identify a quarterback in the draft, whether it's, Fields, Lance Wilson, whoever it may be, that's going to be the guy that they pick and move forward with. I just don't see Joe Douglas handcuffing himself to Sam Darnold after watching, the just years and years and years of poor offensive ranks, of not being able to move the football, of, just regression from the quarterback play. I think we'll move on, but it's a great question. I think it bodes well in Sam Darnold in Sam's favor, especially if Juju comes in and says like, hey, Sam's a beast. Like, I would rather play with Sam than Wilson and these guys. But I feel like at the end of the day, it is Joe Douglas's decision, and we'll probably be moving on. That's just my take.
Yeah. Juju has no impact on what's going on in the quarterback situation out in New York. I'll just say that.
Yeah. So Hunter Miller, $199, $2.
Hunter is back in here.
I appreciate it. If you two had a kid, it would be beautiful.
Hey, he comes on every live stream of mine and donates $199 and says, me and whoever I'm on a stream with to have a beautiful baby.
Man, so I'm the lucky guy. I'm the winner.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you're the one that has to read the comment. Hunter's the man. Hunter's the man.
That's sick. That's cool. So PCAP says USC's quarterbacks have a horrible record in the NFL. I mean, I typically don't like to look at just like the team that they're playing for or judge a quarterback by the helmet that he's wearing. Because, I mean, before Deshaun Watson, how many good Clemson quarterbacks came out of there? Same with Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech, Baker Mayfield, Oklahoma. Like, there's a lot of – I mean, like, there's so many, like, times that you can kind of do that. But they do have a track record of not panning out. Whether it's
I really hate that too, but man, you got to think that if there's ever a great quarterback out of USC coming out, you got to think the Jets probably can't get involved based on their history. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you guys are kind of, you guys are kind of strucken out in the last 20 years. So man, I don't know if it'll be tough.
Yeah, that'll be crazy. TD, what's up, man? He says, "Go Giants."
Oh, San Francisco fan.
Yeah. So next free agent, we'll kind of bounce around here. Matt Judon, Ravens.
Oh, I project that he's going to the Jaguars. That's 3 guys in a row now.
Are the Jags just going to sign every single player to you?
Well, I don't think they're getting Shaq Barrett. I didn't project them to go there, but the Jags control a lot of the market, man. I was really think that they were going to go all in on Trent Williams. It looks like it's not going to happen. But Urban Meyer basically said they're going to try to spin up to the cap. And, like I was saying earlier, man, you can spend up to that cap. And then next year, the cap's going to go up exponentially. And it's going to give you that much more room to do it. And you also got to project your draft class. In the 2018 draft, that draft class is going to be up for contracts. First round pick, that draft class, Taven Bryan, garbage. Second round pick, DJ Chark. I think he'll probably earn a second contract. Third round pick, Ronnie Harrison was traded, no longer on a team. And it's pretty much it. It was not a very good draft class. So, not many players that are on the team right now that have expiring contracts. So, I think the Jaguars pony up this offseason, man.
It'll be nuts, dude. I cannot wait. And it's such a cool position to be in, just for me and you personally, because diehard Jet fan, diehard Jag fan. We both have tons of cap space. We both have, back-to-back for, the first and second pick in the draft. And then we both have multiple day one picks as well. So it's going to be insane. But Owen says, y'all want Leo back. This guy wants $23 million. Well, that was actually, well, I'll say this. He dominated with you guys. He didn't look anything close to that with the Jets. And we traded him away. We got a third and I think a fifth. Or it could have been a third and a fourth because it was a conditional thing. But man, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was watching the Giants late last year, and Leonard Williams came up with a huge third down sack. And in the back of my head, I'm like, what do we do? Did we just trade away a dominant player? Because that's kind of what we were told or promised when he was coming out of USC. But he played multiple years on end. We just never really saw that sack rush potential. Gets into a 4-3 defense and they just let him loose and he dominates. But I mean, $23 million is insane. That's crazy high for Leonard.
Yeah, and it's just funny because I don't know with him, because I wanted the Jaguars to sign him, before the franchise tag or whatever. But then it's how much of that is not putting much effort the first few years, and all of a sudden contract year comes up and he puts out, because that can be kind of tough with, defensive linemen. And, I don't know how much he really loves the game of football versus how much he's an effort guy. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, good point. So Joe, $4.99, dude, I appreciate it. He says, hey, bud, good job. I enjoy watching the videos. Thoughts on grabbing edge early and often in the draft? I like that a lot, right? But I feel with the Jets' needs, I would rather just spend the money on that position in free agency with, Carl Lawson. There's so many different guys that are going to be available with the draft. I feel it's so much of a crapshoot. And Dalton, you can probably attest to this because you did select Chase on last year and he was kind of an edge guy. But I just feel in this class, you have Gregory Rousseau and there's Carl Basham and whatnot. But those guys I don't feel Rousseau definitely could be a game changer. But outside of him, I'm not 1,000% sold. Okay, we're going to be getting the next Bosa or the next Chandler Jones or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a very good defensive lineman draft in the first round. But I hear there's, some pretty solid, high-end guys that are going to go in the second through, fourth round type of thing. But it's weird because this usually you see defensive linemen going off the board like crazy on the first round, but it's not going to be the case this year. And it's, with Greg Rousseau, it's tough because he didn't play in 2020. So it's it's going to be a weird year. Yeah, man, it's and it sucks with us because the 1 year that the Jags and the Jets have all these first round picks and all this draft capital, it's a weird year with no combine and no weird pro days and stuff like that, and a weird college football season. But hey, that's just the Jags and the Jets luck, isn't it?
For sure, man. So let's see. Do these comments. There's so many good questions here. John G, $2.99, dude. Thank you so much. He says Penei Sewell and Darnold or Wilson and Joe Thuney. For me, I'm gonna go Wilson and Joe Thuney. I just feel it's the better match. Personally, I'm just off of Sam Darnold in New York. Maybe he'll be successful elsewhere, but my take is if you needed an elite offensive line, a great coaching staff, multiple weapons on offense, and a really good defense, then you're not a franchise quarterback. And I just don't feel he elevates the teammates around him. And I feel his career is just steadily getting worse. It's a tough situation because I know everybody was high on him coming out, but the turnovers, the mechanics, the decision-making, it's just too much for me. I get why Jets fans still love him and they still want to build around him because of his age and, draft hype and everything. And, from from time to time he will have like incredible plays, but I'm just off at this point. Like that ship has sailed for me. I'm going with Zach Wilson and Joe Thuney. And Penei Sewell's also, I mean, if you draft Penei Sewell, you can now move on from George Fant, which is like $9 million or a $7 million savings. So that is a possibility. So if you're 1,000% sold on Darnold, definitely select Sewell. But if not, then, go with the quarterback. But I appreciate the donation, man. And then I saw a question in here earlier. It was about Russell Wilson. I can't find it now, but I'm pretty sure it was, where do you think Russell Wilson's going to land? So I'll let you take it away first.
He's going to land with the Seahawks. I don't see him getting traded. And it's, I mean, he mentioned like the Cowboys, but the Cowboys, like you mentioned like what 4 teams that he'd be interested in going to. Cowboys, they're off the chart now with Dak Prescott. The Saints, I mean, they just I don't see that happening. There was the Raiders and I guess the Bears. The Bears are apparently trying to do some stuff to free up some money to maybe make a move for him, but I don't know. I don't see that. He stays with the Seahawks in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so weird because like you read the tea leaves and it's like, Chicago's making all these moves. They're saving $20 million and Matt Nagy's going to be fired if the Bears don't do well, and they're letting Trubisky walk. I don't know. I feel like if he does get traded, it'll be to Chi-Town, but I think he's going to stay in Seattle at least one more season. But Dylan says, JC, what would you offer for Deshaun Watson? Honestly, not that much. Like, I feel like Houston at this point is desperate. I feel like as time goes by, Houston's asking price will go down for him. So I wouldn't budge and just offer this humongous amount. Now, Chicago will probably offer a ton, but their attention is with Russell Wilson. I think Watson will probably end up in Carolina, to be honest, but because at the end of the day, Carolina, they're at 8. Washington, they're at 19. San Francisco, they're outside of the top 10. The Jets have the 2nd overall pick. We still have Darnold on the roster. So we have like a lot of options going into next season, whereas like Washington, they don't. Alex Smith is gone. Dwayne Haskins is gone. Is it going to be Kyle Allen again next year? Probably not. Carolina, they like Teddy Bridgewater. They don't love Bridgewater. They want to move off of him. They're kind of desperate as well. Whereas the Jets are like, hey, we can go get Fields. We can go get Wilson. We can go start Sam Darnold. Like they have a ton of different options at the quarterback position.
Yeah, but, and I don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson because, dude, like the coach had a press conference this week and he sounded like so like not confident and like they're so adamant about keeping him. I don't know what they're doing. Like they went and signed a bunch of guys. Like they signed like Mark Ingram. Like they're being active. They made a trade with the Dolphins today. Like I don't know what's going on with that team.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts, man. But dude, Dalton, I appreciate you stopping by, hopping on this live stream. If you guys haven't checked out UCF Jaguars channel, it's down linked down below in the description box. Best Jaguars YouTuber on the platform. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be like, cannot wait to see what happens with free agency tomorrow. And then of course the draft, it's going to be crazy. So dude, thanks so much.
Dude, of course, man. I'm very excited. Hopefully our teams get some guys, man.
Yeah. And will not be the last time we do something. We're actually going to be streaming the draft together. So that should be a lot of fun, but hopefully we, sprinkle in some more collabs in the near future, maybe weeks leading up to the draft.
Absolutely, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Sounds good. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. And as always, go Jets.